the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Jonesboro weekly meeting, 4-time District Club of the Year. And we will call this thing to order. Our bell. And inspirational moment. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Robert Collier. And Rotary four-way test, we all know. And our vision. Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe in our communities and in ourselves. And before, I'm gonna make a quick announcement. I think Brenda had mentioned maybe meetings, in-person meetings and all that. I'd met with Sam and Jill and a few others, Gary Clark, a few others. We were talking about trying to do an in-person option on the 10th, but in light of all of the things that have happened in the last week with COVID and Craighead County being in the red and the plea from community leaders to help do the right thing and kind of slow the spread down, I feel like it's best to delay that a little longer, at least hopefully until we get out of the red zone and keep everybody safe and not put anybody in a position that they don't need to be in. So we will at some point get back to that, but we're just going to need to hold off for now. Now for our program, I think Neelam was going to introduce our speaker.
That's correct. Hi, everybody. I am pleased to introduce Mr. David George to our program today. A little bit about Mr. George. For the past 4 years, he's acted in the capacity of Investor Education Coordinator and Senior Securities Examiner for the Arkansas Securities Department. In this position, he's had the opportunity to address various groups on retirement, basic investing, and pitfalls of today's investment environment. Prior to joining the Arkansas Securities Department, David spent 30+ years on the broker-dealer side, beginning in 1985 as a broker in Little Rock, Arkansas, and progressing to compliance, eventually becoming the Associate Director of Compliance. He accepted an opportunity in retail branch administration, eventually becoming the Associate Director of Branch Administration. Mr. George has had opportunities in branch management, eventually returning to Little Rock as co-manager of the Arkansas complex for his firm. Mr. George carries with him a BA from the University of Arkansas in Little Rock and an MA from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. Please welcome Mr. George to our program.
Well, thank you for having me today. And as a special guest, we have our newest commissioner, Eric Munson, with us. And I don't know if Eric has got his picture up yet, but he will. Okay. I'm going to run the slides, and Eric is going to talk about him and tell you a little bit about himself also.
You bet. I'm Eric Munson. I'm the new commissioner here at the Arkansas Securities Department. Familiar face to investments here in Arkansas, and actually spent some time there in Jonesboro in the past. I started my career as an investment banker at Stevens Inc. Spent several years there, and one of my first projects was I did some refinancing bonds for Arkansas State University. Dr. Williams back then handled a lot of the financial matters for the college, university, and I worked with, I'm really dating myself. My hair was a lot darker, but I worked with Mayor Hubert Brodell and Judge Bearden, Gary Harpo on the MATA plan. I did several series of revenue bonds when we built a lot of the bypasses there around Jonesboro and Craighead County. And again, it's exciting to see you go back and travel up there, just all the work you did and how y'all have a good infrastructure and transportation system. I'm sure some of you think it could be better, but at the time, that was a big deal, and the community really pulled together. It was fun to work on that, and also did a little work there in the region on the school districts. Again, then I spent some time on the retail side. I was an investment advisor for Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, and got back in the politics a little bit more, and did a lot as the economic development liaison for Governor Huckabee when we put the Nature Center in there in Jonesboro. And anyway, I've had a lot of good experience, good trips there. I've had a background. I was a state director for the NFIB, the small business organization, and worked on some issues with your community leaders in the past in the chamber and others. on and on. I positive feelings about Jonesboro. I really wanted to be there in person with y'all today because of COVID. We're doing the best we can remotely, and want to thank David George again for setting this up and having him. I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking, but I just want to leave you with say a few messages and go through this, what we're seeing a lot here at the department. Again, a lot of my background has been in advocacy and investment security. And that's one thing I'm really strong about is I feel like our primary role here at the Arkansas Securities Department is to protect investors. And, you know, I want to set up at least my role here as an advocate for our investors here in Arkansas. We want to make sure that people like my mother, who's 80 years old, who lives on a fixed income and has a small account, that she's protected, you know, that she has money to help her remain as independent as possible. And we have to look out for a lot of the frauds and scams. Is what we do as a department. But again, it goes back to the investors. You know, you got to have, they're the key. You know, you cannot raise capital without investors. The markets need investors. At the same time, we want these markets to be fair and that the investors that participate in those markets are protected. So there's a lot of regulation that plays in. And our role as the Arkansas Securities Department is that we also collect revenue through fees of people in the investment industry. So if you want to sell a stock, a bond, mutual fund, any type of investment product, you must be registered with the Arkansas Securities Department. There's also federal regulation that goes into effect also with that with FINRA, the federal regulatory group. But again, trying to paint you a picture of what the Security Department does. We're trying to do more of these programs, and COVID has created some obstacles for us, just for y'all. But again, the markets are still going, and we're still going ahead. And one of the roles we have, besides protecting investors here in the state, is our investor education. And that's why we want to speak to groups like you in Jonesboro. We work with your legislators here with the Capitol and in the state ongoings. We do report to the legislature and to the governor. We're part of the Department of Commerce, and we want to keep that good relationship going with your legislative representatives that represent Jonesboro and Craighead County down here at the Capitol. And part of this that we use the funds that we collect is through this investor education. Like you, we want to inform more people. In Arkansas, we have a real issue that we must improve on, our financial literacy. A lot of Arkansans, and I don't want to throw a lot of numbers at you. We can get this information to you later, but you would not believe all the people that don't even have a checking account. They don't have a savings account. There's no rainy day fund. They are investors. They might know they are, but if you're a teacher, if you're a state or a county employee, maybe, or work some, there's a 401k, there's different retirement type programs they might be invested in, and all this does affect them. Even though they might not be a day-to-day or weekly trader, it does affect them. And we're trying to do a better job of teaching people the importance of investing out here. And we have a great program. We're going to wrap up with this. We have some grant money right now, and I hope there's somebody involved with the school districts around there. I know there's a lot of strong school districts there in Craighead County and Jonesboro, where we give grants of $5,000 a class where they can play a stock market game, and we teach young people about the importance of investing. And we do a lot of this through Economics Arkansas. They're one of our partners. I'm going to let David really go into detail. That's a great program, but we want to get you for today. We want to get you the information. We are really on a really tight deadline. We've extended it somewhat to get those apps in if possible. Well, again, the Securities Department, I'm just trying to touch on it. We're regulators, and anyone, not just people in Arkansas, not just your investment advisors or your investment firms in Jonesboro here in Arkansas, like the Stevens Inc., Cruz, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, all those Smith Barneys, Morgan Stanleys. We regulate everyone, but those groups, if they want to sell security in Arkansas, they register with us. And part of that, those fees are turned back into the state of Arkansas. Very small percentage we run the agency on, and some of that funds, like I told you, we turn back on our investor education side that the legislature appropriates where we try to give back to the communities on the investor education. Right now, what we're seeing and what we do is again, I was talking about my mother, but we're hearing a lot, and we have a customer complaint hotline. A lot of fraud, and I call them COVID cons, and con artists follow the headlines. So it should be no surprise that the COVID cons are targeting investors. And you might get texts, texts on your phone, emails, robocalls trying to get you to invest in a product, or we have a cure for COVID-19. There's a new research drug. You got to get in now, invest your money. We're seeing lots of different scams and frauds around COVID, and you need to beware. And I guess if not just you, but if you have a elder parent, loved one, relative, you need to make sure you check, who's calling them, who they're talking to. Never, ever give out your social security number, your bank account numbers, any financial information like that. Never, never. You'd be very surprised. A lot of people that happens, very educated people or people you wouldn't suspect, but they're embarrassed almost, so they don't really talk about it, or you don't hear a lot about it, but it's common every day. And just beware of that. And what's happening, there's so much isolation. Some of y'all might be experiencing that too, at your place of employment, or people or family members. Isolation, they're lonely, or someone calls them, or someone befriends them, and then starts digging for financial information. There's a lot of romance schemes right now. There's a lot of people, widows, people, that it starts as a friendly thing. They try to know as much as they can about that person, but they really are trying to get information about their finances, or take advantage of them. This is a big business, y'all. The Securities Investors Protection Corporation estimates the annual losses to be 10 to 40 billion. That's a billion a year with fraud and scams. And again, as an agency, we try to chase these guys down and create a fair and protected playing field. But we don't want to be a hurdle necessarily, but you want to create a fair market. I really want to touch too, though, this is not just including this, but your mortgages. We're seeing a lot of fraud with mortgages. We regulate all the non-mortgage lending. It wouldn't be your Centennial Bank mortgage company there, but the ones that are non-bank mortgage companies. We regulate them. We regulate the money services like Western Union. Again, I said stocks, bonds, mutual funds, any type of security instrument. And we do all this through the registration, the compliance. We investigate the complaints. And then this part, we have the investor education. And David, if you'll go through, again, I touched on some, but right now, the scams and frauds we're seeing, and the number one I mentioned was the identity theft. And David, do you want to add anything on that? And then let's go into the Ponzi scheme and all that we've been seeing some of.
Well, the identity theft is, this can happen. This is the biggest one that we're seeing right now. It starts here. You can get your driver's license, social security number, and I've highlighted those in red on the identity theft portion here. It is, once you lose your identity, that's it. If somebody has your driver's license, somebody has your social security number, and of course I can date myself. My driver's license back in high school had my social security number on it. It's a much different situation than what we have right now. In fact, your driver's license number is like your social security number, and it will go along with your information. How many times have we gotten into a data breach? Amazon has data breaches. Several of your different large companies and banks have had data breaches. And this all of your identity is in your social security number, your date of birth, your name, everything else that is in there. And how many people do we give this to? Think about it. You give it to your mortgage lender, your banker, to your doctor. And if you have to have an attorney, you have obviously give them that information also. But the identity theft is the greatest one. How do you protect yourself in that? is mainly with passwords. On your computer, on your computer, you are seeing that people are asking you to change your passwords like every quarter. And if you change them to something different than password 1, password 2. Change it to something that only you would know or your family would know. Very few other people would know, and things are very difficult to understand. But the commissioner is right in the fact that we have had several different types of scams come across. And Gary, if you would go down to the infinity fraud slide, I think it's about 3 down, right there. This is one, and Commissioner, do you want to talk on this? Is he still with us?
No, I am. I'm gonna let you keep rolling there, and I'll
Okay.
check in.
Please do jump in at any point. The affinity fraud issue is something that is very big right now. We have come across this so many times, and it's more the older people, the older generation that gets caught up in this. It's especially over 50% of this is religious based. You have your brother so-and-so, your pastor so-and-so, your minister, your whoever, that, these are the people you really, really trust. And unfortunately, we've had this even in Arkansas. A couple of years ago, we had a pastor in Fort Smith that started preying on his congregation. So it's happened here also. We caught him and were able to turn that around. Next slide, Gary, is your Ponzi schemes. Now, again, Commissioner, jump in at any point. But
Everyone's familiar with the Bernie Madoff scam, and if you see, we've been tracing a lot of people. We'll get the next on social media that's affected this too on the Ponzi scheme, but also a few people that you get random text messages and emails. Send me $100, I'll make you 100,000, or give me $1,000, and we'll turn this into all this money. There's go ahead, David. We've been seeing a little bit of this.
I actually had a client who was a banker, and later on in life, he quit being a banker and ran one of these Ponzi schemes. He was very, very successful in getting that. In fact, the first number of friends that he got involved in this scheme, like Bernie, they were very prominent individuals, and they thought that they were getting the investing, the benefits from the investing that this gentleman and Bernie had done for them, and when in fact they weren't investing at all. They were dummying up some different items for the people to see that they were investing. And in fact, what they were doing, their statements, and what they were he was actually doing was paying back these people part of the money that they had given him to make it look like he was really investing and making all this money for them. They went out and told their friends told other friends, and eventually the money runs out. So what happens is that, Bernie right now is in jail. His money ran out. And the gentleman that I was telling you about is now deceased. It just caught up with him and he couldn't handle it. So it has happened here in Arkansas. It's happened across the country, and it's still pretty prominent. Commissioner, do you want to add anything?
No, I think just beware of that. The next slide is the internet scams and social media. I guess the majority of you all use social media in your family, but also maybe your business, and social media is not going away. But this has been the real penetration of the COVID cons and the fraudsters trying to reach people different ways, befriending them, getting to know them, maybe some innocent, or get your attention with something, and then turns out they're trying to get financial access to you or other things. But remember, if it's too good to be true, it ain't true. You can't guarantee anything. There's no guarantees. and these, hey, the bank's only paying, 1% on the CD and they're paying 5%. This is guaranteed. You better check it out. So, if you do your individual investing, research. But again, this is when you talk to sometimes an investment professional to check some of this stuff and just to be aware of what's going on here when you get all these social media solicitations. We found out we've had several cases here, and I'll elaborate more in a little bit as we go on, but that we're going to talk about cryptocurrency in a minute. Invest in gold. It's better than what you're getting other returns. They're trying to find ways to fish for what kind of financial holdings you have. The cryptocurrency is, if you're not familiar, that's like digital money. You buy the cryptocurrency, whatever it might be, silver, gold, whatever you're investing in. That we have a lot here. The metals.com was a fraud case that we had recently, and they were promising people, great returns, but then they get the money. It goes in this blockchain, if you're not familiar. And then on the blockchain, we're still learning more about this. Other states, this is new stuff. It's been around a little bit, but they're getting real good about it. You don't know who on the other side of that. You don't know the deposit and the debit. You don't know what side of the money is going where. And once you stick that money in there, and it's really hard to track these people. We're seeing a lot of cryptocurrency cases with even unorganized crime is using this. A lot of drug dealers supposedly on the cryptocurrency. We've got to do better job educating everyone. David, you could say it's been around a while, but it's getting much more sophisticated. And
it is. We have just begun seeing this in Arkansas, and as the commissioner said, we have just done a cease and desist on a group. The state of Texas has really come down hard on this. They have had multiple different cases, and like I said, we're kind of neophytes in this, and we've just done our first one. So it's here. My deal is, if you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it. I'm going to wait until you can. Oddly enough, those people that get scammed nowadays are not necessarily the elderly. They are getting more and more into the millennial group because of cryptocurrencies. You also have binary options here, and those are an all or none bet. This is you can see on the value of a currency. These things have been banned in the country of Canada. We do not have very many of our large firms. I don't think any of them right now will allow anyone to trade in these. So generally, if it is too risky and you have an opportunity to lose all your money very quickly, your good firms will not talk to you about these.
Yes.
But just beware, again, do some research, find out. There's been a lot on the social media, like I said, Instagram and Facebook, even Twitter. Some accounts have solicited folks, and we've had our examiners go after these, and we've actually traced some. It's been people from like Eastern Europe, and then we tried to ping that, and then they jump around to Africa, and then to the Far East. But it had some out of Canada, and like he said, also Mexico. We try to track these people down and see where they're trying to pull this scam. And like I say, it's hard to track them because they change their ping. Can't ping them. They change their IP address. But I think we're going to see a lot more of this. We're being much more aggressive, getting prepared. Because there's some of the cryptocurrency might be is legit, but there's a lot of it that has not been vetted. So just beware. We could almost have a whole presentation on cryptocurrency, but it is, other countries are looking at it, the digital money moving that way somewhat. But just again, once it goes in that blockchain, you don't know what you're going to get back or where it went to. How to avoid scams. We touched on some of this. You get a lot of calls. Just in your call, if they keep calling you, put on the do not call list. Be very careful. Try to. And again, don't want to discourage you from doing business. I mean, it's important to invest in the markets and the opportunity and capitalism. All we have here, you want to be in the market, but you also want a financial plan, and just be skeptical who you're talking to. You want to see that, try to meet that person and meet that individual you're talking to, or your investment advisor, in person, at least, for sure, at least once, and just say no. I mean, they're going to put pressure on you. Hey, you got to get in now. Don't you want to get this return? This is a surefire win, or we're going to make double your money now. Get in now. Hey, you've heard this a lot. Just say no. They're going to tell you, well, all the Wall Street guys are doing this, or the big hitters are investing in this, and you need to get in here now too. And you just, people, the fear and greed factors come in. You just sometimes need to step back and say no and catch your breath and do some research, really check it out. Like I say, cool off, wait a little bit before you make that decision. Kind of jumped ahead with the red flags. You can see those. David was was in compliance, a manager, and also did a lot of sales. He can tell you it gets hard to say no, and you just really have to think long term and have a financial plan, because they throw these phrases at you. Go ahead, David. You can take up from here.
First off, if you're a salesman, you don't want them to say no. But with a lot of the people that you have on these robocalls nowadays, you hear high return, no risk. That's impossible. I've never seen that. With higher risk, you get a higher return. With no risk, you get very little or no return. Your profit guaranteed. Most people would be in jail in my business. My former business, had you said anything guaranteed. For you only, trust me, cash only. And this one especially, and we've talked on this a little bit before, on the limited time, get in right now. You cannot do that. Take time to cool off and think about it. These are just some basic rules on investing, and put this in here, and I did have intention of getting a copy out to everybody, because these are the things that you look at I can tell you in Jonesboro, we did have a gentleman in my previous firm that was purchased, and he's still there, very good guy. But this is what he lives and breathes, and this is what most all good brokers live and breathe. You absolutely want everybody to be in the know and on the same page as you when you are getting them to invest any of their money. It's their money.
Sure we can. I just want to, at least follow up. It's just be reasonable, make good decisions, try to make good decisions. But again, the more information you have, hopefully the better decision you'll make. And if you have a financial plan, you work with a professional investment advisor, when you have the ups and downs and the highs and lows and all the roller coaster ride the market's been in, you're in it for the long haul. And, again, we think people need to plan ahead. You must plan ahead. You want to try to build wealth and save for your retirement. And I think Jill spoke up about her son investing. We think that's great. We want people investing, but let's do it, be responsible investing and do it wisely, and just be aware of some of the different, like the cryptocurrencies and things like that. But I just want to make it clear that, that it is important, the markets and our every day you're investing. If you're drinking a Diet Coke, Coca-Cola, if we're using Microsoft computers here, we put ExxonMobil gas in our car, we go to McDonald's and get breakfast or coffee. I mean, you go to Starbucks, you're investing in the market as consumers. And at the same time, we want to promote that. But again, on the coronavirus scams, we go back to that. And we've seen a lot of examples. We want to protect our elderly. We want to watch for the isolation. We want to watch out for these COVID cons. Again, common sense stuff, but remember, don't respond to texts, emails, or calls or checks about the government. We had someone saying they were an IRS agent recently that was berating single women. A lot of these were moms saying that they owed money and they need information, and he was an IRS agent, and very wrong. I mean, just got to shut that guy down. And also, you're seeing a lot now. Hey, we got the home vaccinations, a cure for COVID, the home test. this work, send me your money. The test kits have been, I mean, I've even got some of those. The robocalls, you get robocalls from extending your car warranty to you name it, local deal. But it's some of these scammers are really good when they talk about, low price health insurance, or we have different type get well drugs for you. Just again, our elderly are really preyed upon by these folks. And the emails you see, we've talked to some people around the state. There's some religious organizations. They're saying, hey, we're trying to stop COVID in Africa, missionary, send your money to this, missionary church field. And it was a scam. Again, we go back, do your homework when it comes to your donations to these groups you give to and to the charities. Just be very careful and don't give cash or, just beware. And the big program I was touched on earlier, I want to touch on this for y'all here today. I know our time is running tight, is our investor education grant program. And David has done a great job being our point person for this. And again, I talked about us working with Economics Arkansas. We've worked with some of the Jonesboro area schools in the past. And David, would you tell them about the program? And maybe there's someone there that might pass this information on to some folks there in the school districts that might want to participate.
Now, we've got 2 slides here on the Investor Education Grant Program. We have a legislative appropriation that has gone from 70 because we used it. We ran out of money too often to 125,000. This comes from our fines, our registrations, everything else. It doesn't come from the taxpayer. But the eligible applicants, we've got grades 5 through 12 is what we work with in the public school system. We've got 3 or 4 grants from Jonesboro just about annually from a lot of the magnet schools. The suggested grant request is up to $5,000. It does help out with the financial literacy programs throughout the states. The legislature has passed an Act 480. But this year, make a long story short, and Gary, I see you've got the other one up also. We've extended our application due date until actually we're starting to shut it down, but we're still open for anybody that wants to come in and try to get something going for their school system. We have not covered all of our money this year due to COVID-19. It has really wreaked havoc on the school systems. We have shut down everything. We're doing everything virtual. And I guess the teachers just don't understand that the money is out there and available. But if you know of a teacher, know of a principal, a superintendent, whatever, please have them give us a call. And our contact information is on the last slide. If you would just give us a call, give us an email, whatever, we will respond back. Now, it's a wonderful program. It's the closest thing to free money that you're going to see. It's going to help the entire school system. We do a lot of funding that winds up buying Chromebooks for use with stock market game and then on to other things. But anyway, we really need some help from anybody that can help in getting the word out that we do need to get some of this money taken care of. If you'd go back up to right after the question slide, the final thought here is something that I got off of our co-ops, because like the commissioner said, we work a lot with Economics Arkansas. We teach the teachers on how to teach the financial literacy and their Act 480 programs. And this really hit me. This came out of a co-op off one of the walls. I believe it was the Archford co-op. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. That's where this grant program comes in. Get these children involved and they will learn. And hopefully they will not be the ones that don't have anything in retirement later on in life. That came oddly enough from Benjamin Franklin, who was very much way ahead of his time in his thinking. But
Now, David, you've been in the business a long time. Was Ben Franklin one of your clients?
he was.
Yeah.
He liked municipal bonds, school districts also.
That's good. No, I love that quote. And again, we hope that you'll spread the word about the investor education, the Economics Arkansas, the stock market game to the districts there around Craighead County and Jonesboro. And we really appreciate you letting us come, via Zoom. I'm sorry we had a little misstep there in the beginning, and we'd like to come back in person. It's a lot smoother in person, to tell you the truth, but we're makeshifting like you are too, probably using the Zoom and the WebEx and Microsoft Teams, how we all communicate now.
Hey guys, I've got a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Does it, back on the identity theft, does it help at all to do a credit freeze with the major agencies? I know that I have heard that if you're not anticipating borrowing money for a car, credit card, house, or anything of this nature, you can do a credit freeze through the various agencies, and no one can open an account or take credit out in your name if you do that. Is there any validity to that?
Eric?
David, I'll let you address that, David.
Yeah. There is. It is a little more difficult than just shutting down your credit card. And it's a little more difficult to get it back open again, obviously. But that is a good way of protecting yourself if you have no intentions of doing any of this. And a lot of people, we were talking about millennials earlier. Millennials are looking now to, they're borrowing more money, they're doing more things, so this really wouldn't pertain to them. It would possibly pertain to the older generation that is beyond getting the mortgage for the house, possibly the new car, but how many times you get a new car? It's not generally every year. Anyway, the credit freeze, yeah, that's a good idea.
Bill, I'll say if you do the credit freeze, don't ever forget your password. If you do, you won't get it unlocked.
All right. Well, thank you all again. And
I saw a question from Lori about the grants. Lori, they are right now. They are for. Is that right, David? They're for public schools.
Yes, they are. We've had a lot of parochial schools involved in the past, and maybe the more of the parochial schools will open up to that. But I think we'll have to have a discussion, and possibly it'll even have to go before the legislature.
So for the school,
our department, we can get you materials to your private school, or we even might have some staff come speak. But as far as the grant program, that's strictly for public schools.
So for the schools to begin that process to access those grants, they need to go to the website and fill out the application, that step.
Yes, sir. It's either that or they can give me a call and I'll be glad to walk it through.
Okay. I know there was a question I received. Maybe she meant to post it public, but how secure are the new apps such as Cash App and Venmo, those sort of things? Do y'all have any experience with that?
A little bit. The cybersecurity and those things are always a threat. You know that right now, and you get notices sometimes that your code's been compromised. We have not necessarily got a lot of calls on that, but we've had. They try to target you that way sometimes, and we talk about the young people. Younger, they're more used to this, but everyone has all these Netflix accounts or Hulu and all these you get it, and younger people, it's easy. Instead of they just click and do, hey, $10 a month or $20 a month. Well, they try to suck those people in that way through apps, maybe like on the cryptocurrency or something fake where, hey, just sign up and on this Ponzi scheme or this idea, just give us your information and send us, $25 a month and get returns where it's, again, you don't know how secure that is. And there are fraudsters that are trying that angle. But generally, most of those are secure, but they have been breached, as you know.
Yeah, I'm in banking, so I know we watch for this kind of stuff all the time. And you're right, they prey on the elderly as much as possible with all this stuff. And last year I had a lady in my office and tried to convince her not to be doing what she was doing, and she wouldn't come clean. And then finally we got her to come clean, and of course she had lost thousands of dollars by going and buying gift cards and sending the guy pictures of the front and the back of the gift card, and she was promised to double her money back, get it back, and all this stuff. And so she was embarrassed to admit it when she was talking to me, but we finally got her to come clean with what was going on and try to help her out.
Gary, I'm sure you could give a whole hour, 2-hour speech on the stories you've got at the bank. I know on the stuff like that. We try to, again, prevent that and educate the public as much as possible. But I do think that, man, it's not going away. And again, if people know, especially the elder protection, and a lot of times it's too late, unfortunately, is get these calls and try to chase them down, or someone finally looks at their account and all the money that's gone. And then that person, that's 6 months ago, they're gone. But just beware. It's unfortunate. And a lot of times we try to help victims recover that money. It's very difficult. A lot of times it's those people are gone. It's hard to track them down, or when you get them, to get a lot of the money back is very challenging.
We tell people all the time, if it sounds too good to be true, it's not true. And nothing is free and easy.
Amen.
When is the new deadline?
Is that November 16th?
Well, that's when we try to get the checks.
No, we'd like the day before. I mean, we're really right now this week, if you could get it in.
Yeah. Because we like to get the checks out to them in mid-November, mid to end of November, so we can get all this process going. And the stock market game is going to start up real quick.
And I want to make it clear that we're not trying to fear, in not investing, but just be aware of all this. And Gary will tell you too, working for a financial institution, that your money's want to be safe, do credible business. It's really important to work with a financial planner or professional if you can, and get a financial plan and learn your risk tolerance and what your goals are and what you want to do, and combine all that. It really helps on the front end to lay that out. It'll help you make better decisions. And also, again, there's so much volatility right now in today's world and market, all the noise on TV and election year, everything. It does get people anxious. And if you've got a good plan, though, you ought to sleep a little better on your finances.
All right. Any other questions for Eric or David? All right, David and Eric, we appreciate y'all being here. That's good information.
Thank you much.
Appreciate you sharing with us. And like I said, we will, when we get back to being in person some point down the road, we'll try to get you back too.
Oh, we'd love, please. We can really do it up in person. And thank you all so much for having us. And everyone stay healthy and stay safe.
Next week, we'll have Penny Toombs, director of the Historic Dias Colony, Johnny Cash Boyhood Home, and the Southern Tenant Farmers Museum. So she'll have a presentation for us. And like I said, we'll be back via Zoom. So hopefully sometime in the future, we'll see how this COVID goes in our area, and we'll do that. We'll be in person as soon as we can. And everybody be safe. Thought for the day: if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Milton Berle. All right, that is all we have for today. So I appreciate everybody being here, and have a great rest of the week. Go vote if you haven't done so already.
Thanks, Gary. It's good to see everyone.
Everybody be safe. Take care of yourself.
Yes. Have a good week.
Thanks, you too.